and welcome to Cooking with Countryside. My name is Melissa and today we're going to be making Zacusca, which is a Russian eggplant spread. So what we're going to need from the market is we're going to need eggplant. I'm using little ornamental eggplant today because I wanted a few different colors in here, but you can use a regular eggplant as well. We're going to need bell peppers, any color, a tomato, jalapenos. These are optional, but they're gonna add a little bit of kick to the sauce. An onion. And a loaf of sourdough bread. Ooh, Now the struggle is getting back in here. I don't need to do that. And then some things you'll need that you won't be able to find at the market are oil, salt, and pepper. So this is kind of a long recipe. It's very little prep time, a lot of cook time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna need to cut the peppers and the eggplant, and then we're gonna roast them. So with the eggplant, all we're gonna do is pierce it a few times with a fork. And this is just gonna help some of that steam vent out so your eggplant won't explode. And we're gonna wanna line the baking sheet that you're gonna use with foil. And that'll also make your cleanup process a lot easier. So I'm suggesting you use 1 medium or large eggplant, or I'm using about 7 of these little ones. What's gonna happen is we're gonna bake them until they're soft and tender, and then we're gonna scoop out the inside and we're gonna puree that to make the sauce. But right now we really wanna grill them, blacken them. So if you do have a high heat grill, this will make the cooking process go a lot faster. So you can just throw them on a high heat until they're blackened for about, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes, and then you'll be good to go. So 2 options with the peppers. I'm using 4 peppers today because they are quite small, but if you had larger peppers, you would want to just use 2 of them. Any color. The traditional choice is red bell peppers, but today I'm going to use these purple ones instead. So you can either roast them whole like this, or you can cut them in half and scoop out the seeds. I'm just gonna go ahead and roast them whole. So I'm just gonna throw them on my sheet. So we're gonna throw these in an oven at 400 degrees. Mine's already preheated, and we're gonna leave them in there for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, the peppers should be cooked and they should be starting to get black, which is good, it's what we want. Take the peppers off and we're gonna put the eggplant back in, because the eggplant probably won't be done. It'll probably need about 20 more minutes. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so the next step that we're gonna need to do is we are going to chop our onion, chop our jalapenos, and then we're gonna cook them on the stove top. So for this recipe, we're gonna use half an onion, and then like I said before, the jalapenos are optional. So if you don't wanna add them, then you can just add the onion. I'm going to dice the onion. What we're gonna do is we're going to cook the whole thing on the stove top, so all the flavors are gonna meld together. So that's why I want it a little bit smaller, just get more surface area on the onion. And it'll also cook a little bit faster in the pan. We're gonna cook it down till it's translucent. And I did make a mistake in my speaking earlier. This is actually a Romanian recipe, not a Russian recipe. I know that there are Russian eggplant spreads out there, but this one is a little bit different. It's the Romanian version. And if you have gloves, I might recommend chopping your jalapeno with gloves, just in case you have any cuts or anything on your hand. It might sting a little bit. But otherwise, you can just chop it thin. And then you're gonna wanna pick a shallow pan, but one that can hold a lot. So the one that I'm going to use today looks like this. So it's wide on the bottom, but it has enough of a lip where if I pour things in it, it's not going to spill over. And so I'm just going to go ahead, add a little bit of oil to this, and then I'm going to cook the jalapenos and the onions. And this is only going to take about 3 to 5 minutes, just until the onions are starting to get translucent. In the meantime, we have our tomato that we can dice up. And you can use any kind of tomato for this. If you came to our tomato tasting session last week, now you know kind of what your favorites might be, so you can add that and you can get the exact flavor you're looking for. I actually just a few weeks ago got this handy dandy chopper so I can get things real small without much work on my part. So look at that. If you can see it, it's red on red, I know. And I can smell those onions. They are smelling delicious. And so my eggplants, since they were so small, I actually took them out after 20 minutes with the peppers. I ended up not needing that extra 20 minutes. So it's up to you. You can use your judgment. If you have the larger eggplants, then you'll definitely need to add them for a little more time, but mine were tender right through. Give these a nice stir. Okay, so with my eggplants, you can see that they did get a little bit blackened already. Here, I can come even closer. There we go. What we're gonna do is we are going to remove the skins and scoop out the inside. So to do that, I'm just gonna cut off the stem and then cut a slit through the middle. And then that'll make it easy to open up. Basically, we just need to chop these thin, almost to a puree, and they're so soft that it'll be pretty easy to get there. So we're gonna combine the eggplant and the peppers into this. And if you have a better strategy for de-skinning the eggplant, feel free to do that. I am by no means an eggplant expert. Just gotta keep an eye on those onions. You can smell them, they're really good. So this dish could be served as an appetizer or a side dish. Today what we're gonna do, what I'm gonna show you, is how to make it as like a spread for toast, but you could spread this on fruit or a vegetable or even meat. It would make a good glaze for, say, chicken or pork. So it's a versatile dish. So my onions are pretty much done. So I'm still working on the eggplant here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and add the tomatoes right now, because this is where, again, it's kind of like a waiting game. It's not a whole lot of prep time. It's more of waiting. We're gonna have to let this simmer and reduce for at least 30 minutes and up to 90 minutes. So the sauce is gonna get thick, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be spreadable, and that's what we want. So I'm just starting that process a little bit early. Okay, so all my eggplant is in this food processor right now, so I'm just going to process it until it is smooth. I'll get a nice little arm workout. Okay, So I will come closer to the camera so you can see this. Ta-da! This is my eggplant. I'm just gonna add it to the pan with my onions and tomatoes. And so now we just need to do the peppers. Again, we cooked them and blackened them a little bit. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna de-seed them and then do the same thing that we did with the eggplant. We're just gonna puree it. And so you could use a food processor or blender, or like an immersion blender if you have that. Whatever's gonna work, whatever's gonna get you there. If you don't have either, you could just chop it really small by hand and it'll still reduce on there. Yours will just be a little bit chunkier. I realized that a lot of my recipes recently have needed a blender or a food processor. So going forward, I will try to always mention how you could make it without one of those. So I know that we don't all have things. Okay, so same kind of deal. That's pureed. It's a chunky puree, but it's definitely liquid. Turn up my heat so I can hear the sizzle. That's what you want. Okay, so half my peppers are in. I just have my remaining peppers, and then the only other thing that we could add would be salt and pepper. I'm gonna wait till the end to add that because I normally don't add salt to anything, and the pepper I can just add on top of my toast. But that's your personal opinion. If you are a salt and pepper kind of person, go ahead and add it now. And once you try this, if you have any other seasonings you'd like to add in, definitely leave us a comment below. Tell us anything else you added, any modifications you made to this. We'd love to hear your own experience. And ta-da! So I'm gonna dump this in here and then let this simmer for 30 minutes. Stir occasionally, and then we'll check it, see how it's looking, see how it's tasting. Okay, so my Zacusca has been cooking for a little bit over 45 minutes, and I'm gonna call it done. It definitely got a lot thicker, and in the beginning there was a lot of water simmering that you could see, and when I turned off the heat there was no water simmering anymore. So the mixture is definitely thicker. Probably kind of hard to see from there, but it does have a different color than you might traditionally see because I didn't use the red pepper, but it still looks and it's gonna taste pretty good. So the next step would be to cut our bread, and I'm using a sourdough loaf for this one, and I could use a sharper knife. And then the only thing you have to do, you have an option here to toast your bread. Otherwise, you can just spread your Zacusca right on. I've not used this bread knife before, so now I know it could be a little sharper. So I'm just gonna take a scoop and spread it on top. And that's gonna make a nice piece of toast for you. And if you wanted to make it bite-sized, you could use a longer loaf of bread instead of a round loaf of bread. But I'll come around. This is our beautiful Zacusca. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in finding out how you can get all the ingredients you've seen to make this recipe today from local farmers here in Ohio, you can visit countrysidefoodandfarms.org. Thank you.